You wake up, not to silence, but to war. A distant explosion breaks the morning. The ground trembles beneath you. Mud clings to your uniform. Cold seeps into your bones. And for a moment, you forget where you are. Then it hits you, the trench, the war, and the reality that you survived the night. Somewhere in the trenches of World War I, a young soldier named Norman Morris opens his eyes, not as a hero, not as a legend, but something far more common, a man trying to survive. Before the war, he had a life, a quiet one, simple mornings, familiar streets, voices he knew, people who loved him. There were no trenches, no rifles, no endless waiting, just ordinary days that he never imagined he would miss so much. But here, none of that exists anymore. Only mud, only fear, only waiting. The trenches were never meant to be lived in, and yet men stayed there for months, sometimes longer. Water filled the ground beneath their boots. It never truly dried. Every step was heavy, cold, unforgiving. The walls closed in around them, wood and earth barely holding together. Rats moved through the trenches freely, fat, fearless, feeding on scraps and sometimes on the dead. They ran across boots, across bodies, across faces in the night. Sleep came in fragments, short, broken, interrupted by artillery or the screams of someone nearby, and the smell never left. Smoke, rot, death. It stayed with you, even when you closed your eyes, even when you tried to forget. But the hardest part was not the cold, not the hunger, not even the danger. It was the waiting, because every soldier knew the next moment could be their last. And in that silence between explosions, a thought would return again and again and again. What if I don't make it home? What if this is it? So, like many others, Norman did something simple. He decided to write a letter, not because he wanted to, but because he felt he had to. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a worn piece of paper, edges torn, stained by mud, handled too many times, and a pencil, short, worn down. His hands were dirty, slightly shaking. He stared at the page for longer than expected, because once you begin writing, you admit something, that this might be goodbye. My dear family. The words felt heavier than they should. He paused, then continued. He tried to sound strong. He wrote that he was fine, that the conditions weren't so bad, that they shouldn't worry, that everything would be all right. But none of it was true. He didn't write about the mud or the cold nights that never seemed to end. He didn't write about the fear that followed him every second. He didn't write about the men who didn't wake up or the ones who cried in silence when no one was looking. Instead, he wrote about home, the warmth of it, the quiet, the peace, the life he once had, because remembering was easier than explaining, and maybe he needed to believe it still existed. Then the letter changed. If anything should happen to me. He stopped. The pencil hovered over the page. For a moment, he couldn't continue. The words sat there, unfinished, heavy, final. But he knew he had to finish them, so he kept writing. He apologized for leaving, for not saying enough, for the moments he thought he would have later, for the time he believed was guaranteed. And then he wrote what mattered most, that he loved them, more than anything, more than words could ever hold, more than a letter could ever carry. He folded the paper slowly, carefully, as if it might fall apart, as if it held something fragile, because it did. It held everything he could not say in person, everything he might never get the chance to say again. He placed it close to his chest. For a moment, he closed his eyes. Days later, the whistle blew, a sound every soldier feared and understood. No words were needed. It was time. Men climbed out of the trench, one by one, slow at first, then faster, into smoke, into chaos, into uncertainty. Gunfire erupted, the air filled with noise, with movement, with confusion. The ground exploded beneath them. Dirt, fire, metal, everything at once. Some fell immediately. Others kept running, driven by instinct, by fear, by something they couldn't explain. And somewhere in that chaos, Norman Morris disappeared into history, not with a speech, not with recognition, but like so many others, quietly, suddenly, gone. Far from the battlefield, a letter arrived, folded, worn, delayed by distance and time. It was held for a moment before being opened, carefully, slowly, as if opening it too quickly might make it real. Every word read in silence, every sentence carrying weight, because it wasn't just a letter, it was a goodbye, a final voice from someone who would never return. Norman Morris was not alone. Thousands of soldiers wrote letters like his during the World War I, some filled with hope, others with quiet acceptance, but all of them shared one truth. War does not take lives, it takes futures, it takes moments that never happen, words that are never spoken. It leaves behind silence and pieces of paper, and sometimes those words are all that remain.